This presentation will help you complete this course successfully. First of all, let's look at the weekly agenda for weeks 1 through 7. Week 8 is a final exam week, so the only thing you have to do is take the final exam. But in weeks 1 through 7, you would start on Monday by reading the assignments and taking notes. I advise you to either click on the modules and you'll see an overview in the modules that will tell you what to do, and you'll see the same chart for all the weeks at one time in the syllabus. So there's two different ways of looking at what you need to read. By Friday, and that's a deadline, it's not actually a day that you have to post, you need to submit 2 discussion posts no later than midnight on Friday. I advise posting earlier in the week, and that gives you an opportunity to have other students reply to what you write and to get more information about what's going on earlier in the week if the class will post early. But the deadline is always Friday. We never post on the weekends. The weekends are for the major writing assignments and the quizzes. Now on Saturday, you have a major writing assignment due. In weeks 1, 3, and 5, it's a rough draft. There's no grading. You just get advice. There's never any late assignments in weeks 1, 3, and 5. There's never any exceptions. You don't lose points, but you don't get the feedback from me. Instead, you could get help from the tutors at the writing studio if you have to miss a deadline. But students do a lot better in the class if they turn in their assignment every week, including weeks 1, 3, and 5. Now, weeks 2, 4, and 6, you'll submit the final essays. That's the ones that are graded. There's a late penalty, though. It's 10%, so it would be the first essay is only worth 100 points, so that would only be 10 points if you turn it in on Sunday, and 20 points if you turn it in on Monday, 2 days after the deadline. And in week 7, you have to post 2 discussion posts as an essay, and that's in a discussion form, so you can chat back and forth, discuss what you're writing with the other students for essay 4. That does have a Saturday midnight deadline with no exceptions again, because this is a discussion forum, and discussion forums always have due dates. For the weeks 1 through 7 graded discussions, it's Friday, and for essay 4, because it's an essay, it's Saturday at midnight. On Sunday, you take your quizzes by midnight. It's 10 multiple choice questions. They're taken directly from the chapters for the week. And you also would take an exam in week 8 that is simply 10 questions from all these quizzes from weeks 1 through 7. So because the agenda is so important, let's just repeat what you do. Monday, you figure out what you're supposed to read by looking at the module for the week, clicking on that, or seeing the chart in the syllabus. No later than Friday, you will have posted 2 discussion posts. Saturdays are for the major writing assignments, and weeks 1, 3, and 5 are just practice versions of the essay so that you can get my feedback. Weeks 2, 4, and 6 are the final versions. There's always a 10% late penalty if you turn in a graded version, weeks 2, 4, and 6, late. There's never any late assignments for weeks 1, 3, and 5. No later than Sunday at midnight, you take your quiz, and it's simply 10 multiple choice questions. Now, I will tell you, the servers get very busy around midnight, so try to take that quiz earlier in the day on Sunday, or hopefully earlier in the week. That would work even better. Now, this next slide is actually the most important slide in the presentation. It shows you how to divide your time. Take a look at that pie chart. The essays are worth 690 points. That's 69% of your grade. The tests are worth 240 points, 24% of the grades, and the discussions are worth 70 points, 7% of the grades. You're never graded on rough drafts, but there's no late assignments for those. Remember that. But you can see why you want to spend most of your time writing the 4 essays. Now, I'm not saying the discussions aren't important. They'll help you write your essays and they'll help you learn how to write better. So obviously they're important. We want a high quality class. But remember this pie chart, 69% of the grade is on the assignments that you're turning in weeks 2, 4, and 6 plus the week 7 essay, which is actually a discussion forum. If you have any questions about this chart, be sure to ask because it's very important for you to understand how you're being graded. Now there's 2 weekly discussion posts. Together they're worth 10 points. Most of the points are for the original reply. Now weekly posts are graded with a rubric. It's a simple rubric. You need to write a post that's long enough because if you don't, you'll lose out in the content as well as the length. But there isn't a certain number of words because some students write more content in a fewer amount of words. So the discussion post instructions give you an idea of how many paragraphs, and a paragraph's usually a couple sentences, maybe 3 to 5 sentences. Would be good, and sometimes just 2. It depends on the assignment. But the first post is your original response. The second is your reply to another student. Original post as early in the week as possible because you want other students to read it and reply to you. The follow-up post is also by Friday at midnight. Discussion stops at midnight. I usually grade on Saturday morning. We never go back and we never move forward with the discussion. We only work in the current week. It gets way too confusing if we're trying to write multiple discussions. And we reserve the weekends because only 7% of the grade is for the discussion. So you want the weekends when the major assignments are due to be focusing entirely on that other 930 points, the other 93% of your grade. So no posts on the weekends, please. Now let's take a look at essays 1, 2, and 3 versus essay 4. Altogether, the essays are worth 69% of the grade, 690 points. But essays 1, 2, and 3 are submitted in an assignment folder. You get the feedback privately as private comments. The topics, you have lots of options. And the rough drafts, there's no points, but there's no late assignments. They're meant to help you. The final versions are worth 100, 200, and 300 points each. The final versions are due Saturday by midnight, and there's a 10% daily late penalty. Your length is always between 2 and 4 pages. Please stay within that length. If you write less than that, you can't earn points for words you didn't write. If you write more than that, that will result in points also being deducted because you're only allowed 4 pages. We have to have the same rules, the same guidelines for all students. So if you try to write more to get a better grade, that would of course be unfair to other students. The essay 4 is a discussion and it's written with 2 posts. Your original discussion that you write and then a reply post to another student. And you write these posts and then it's worth 90 points. It's due by Saturday at midnight. The discussion cuts off on Saturday. There's no late post, and the length is between 300 and 600 words. Now, taking the quizzes and the week 8 final exam, it's important to take them on time. You have to take them by Sunday at midnight, and for weeks 1 through 7. And week 8, it's a Wednesday deadline. We're wrapping up the course. I want to look over the grades, calculate everything. And also, if I have to track down a student who is ill or something like that, it gives me time before the grades are turned in. Grades at Macomb are due a certain number of hours after the course ends. So you can see why we don't want to wait until Sunday night, or well, the class doesn't even go till Sunday, Saturday night, and find that somebody is missing something. So that's why we wrap it up on Wednesday for the final exam in week 8. Study the assigned chapters before taking the 7 quizzes and the final exam. Take notes on all the pages, not just the quiz questions. There is a study guide for the final exam. Now, be prepared because you can only enter the exam one time. It is open book and it's not timed, so you should feel relaxed. And finally, whenever you have questions, remember, we're partners. Don't ever feel like, oh, I'm asking too many questions. She'll get annoyed. She'll get aggravated. I will not do that. I can still, even though it's been a long time, I can still remember what it was like to be a freshman student in college and all the different words that the professors used. And I was so confused, and so many requirements. And online makes it more difficult because you're doing things in half the time, of course. So when you have questions or concerns, you can write an email, you can call the number on the syllabus, you can post in the questions discussion forum, and you can also send the email and call and post. You can do all 3. The main thing is don't move forward while being confused, because you'll just get upset and you'll get stressed out. You won't be able to do your best work. So just always remember, we're partners. We can't succeed without each other. If I have a question about what you're doing, I'll ask you. And if you have a question about what I'm doing in the class or about the requirements, you'll do the same. You'll ask me. Good luck with the course.